What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Trials of Heroes video. Today the video is going to be a bit longer due to the update bringing us two new buildings in the Galactic Gate. So if you look in the top left corner you see the Divinity Source, and in the bottom right corner you see the Void Fortress. So we'll start with the Void Fortress, which seems very confusing when you get started, but I'll try to go over everything. And I'll make some timestamps in the description so you can skip ahead if there's stuff that you already know. So I'll start with the basics. We'll go into the Void Mine and we'll start looking at the new resources. So if we look at this load, this is the Divinity load, which gives a quite good overview of all the new resources. If we start by looking at the resources related to the Void Fortress, we have the Flare Meteorite, which is used to purchase things in the shop, basically. That's the only purpose of this. There is the Void Diamond, which is used to upgrade buildings in the Void Fortress. This is the only purpose of this resource. And lastly, there is the Void Fortress points. These are only used to estimate which ranking you have when the season is over. I'll get back to that in a later part of the video. Click for the timestamp if you want to skip ahead. The other resources, as you see on the left, there's two more. These are related to the Divinity Source. These are called Bud of Birth and Spirit of Ruin. We'll get back to those when we get to the Divinity Source part of the video. So as I mentioned, this is called the Divinity load, as you see in the top. There are two other kinds of load. Right here you see the green triangle. That's the one I just clicked on. If you see right next to it on the right side, there's a small blue one. Has kind of a spiral theme going on. This is called the Void load. This just gives you the same resources without the ones related to the Divinity Source. So the same resources, you get a bit more of these flare meteorites than you do in the other one. Here you get 93, and over here you get, well, this is an unfair comparison. In a triangle that's also blue, you get only 45 because you get the other resources instead. The last kind is this one that looks kind of like a compass, I guess. That's called the Galactic load. This gives you the new resources connected to the Void Fortress, as well as these two old resources that you are familiar with by now, Galactic Crystal and Stellar Shards. So these are the three different kinds of load. As you saw, there's a blue triangle and a green triangle. This is the level of the load. So the blue one is a level 1 divinity load, and the green one is a level 2 divinity load. So of course the level 2 is going to give you more materials, and of course the level 3 is going to give you even more materials. These loads you can, right now this is unoccupied, this is why the color is green. So I can battle and control the load, which will give me an estimated output per 30 minutes, as you see on the screen right now. This is what these people have been doing. So for instance, if I click on one of these ones, I see that this one is occupied by this Chinese name that I certainly can't pronounce at all, not being Chinese and not reading Chinese and not speaking Chinese. So right now, if I occupy this and I kind of overtake this load, I will get the occupation rewards, which you see in the bottom left. And then when I control the load, I will get the estimated output per 30 minutes as kind of a passive income. So if you believe that you can overtake a load and keep it for a while, this is a good way to spend your challenge crystals. I'll get back to what a challenge crystal is. This is a good way to spend them. Other than loads, there are these purple ones. I'll see if I can find one. They're called wild monsters. There's one. So this purple one right in the middle is called a wild monster. This is a level 1 wild monster. I'm not sure if there's different levels. I've only seen level 1, but to be fair, I haven't looked for them very much. As you see, the rewards, at least these Void Fortress points are quite high. The other ones, to be honest, are quite high as well. As you saw earlier, I think the Flare Meteorite and the other one was like 91, and the Void Diamonds was 7. So the rewards here are quite good if you don't believe that you can keep a load occupied for very long. This gives you a better upfront reward, but of course it doesn't give you a passive reward, and you won't control this. The wild monster, when you beat it, it'll just disappear. So that's another way to use your challenge crystals. The challenge crystals, as I mentioned, I would come back to these. If you look in the top screen, in the top of the screen, you see that there's a timer counting down from right now 2 hours and 38 minutes. This is because every 8 hours you get a challenge crystal. I have spent all of mine. But you can purchase, I think it's 4 of these every day. They cost you 100 crystals each. As you see, I'm broke as fuck, so I can't even purchase one. I've purchased 2 today. Um, but essentially, those are the ones that you spend in here. So, right next to the challenge crystals, you see that there's kind of a minecart thing going on. I also have 0 of those. That's because all of them are being used right now. If I click in the bottom right, you see my load. If I go to the bottom, you see that in the very bottom, I have a level 2 galactic load that I have been occupying for 13 hours and 11 minutes. If I go check that, this is it right here. The reason I don't have a minecart or a harvester, as they're called, is because I'm still occupying this load. So if I choose to abandon it, of course I won't right now, but if I chose to abandon it, I would get 1 cart or a harvester back. So if you choose to occupy them, this is why the number will go to 0, because you can only occupy 3 of these at a time. When you get knocked out of them, you depending on how long you've occupied them, as you see here, one of them I've occupied for 13 hours and 12 minutes. The other ones I've only occupied for about 4.5 hours. So, of course, that has generated more passive income than the other ones. The estimated output per 30 minutes, of course, multiplied by the number of hours, of course, that you have occupied the load. So, the other buildings in here, starting with the Harvester Workshop, this is where you use what are they called? I forgot already. That was very quick. We'll go back in here. The ones to upgrade the building, they're called Void Diamonds. Brilliant. Okay, so the Void Diamonds you use in here to increase the load bonus. So right now it's 0. When you upgrade the ones, you get 30% higher output from the loads. This is very self-explanatory, so I won't spend too much time on this. So going to the next one, the Power Reinforcement Chamber, which you see on the left in the middle. This is, you've seen this in several other aspects of the game. For instance, in the guild tree, you can upgrade a specific type of class, like a warrior. You can upgrade the academy tree, I think it's called. The thing to look out for here is that if you look on the right, it says the bonus takes effect only in battles of void plunder. So this is only the ones where you take a node from, or a load from another player. The one on the right here, it only takes effect in the wild monsters. So if you just compete against wild monsters, go for the right one. If you only try to capture loads, go for the left one. I think I probably won't start going for either of them right now, because I think the value from this one is better, or actually maybe the value from the last one, which is the crystal core, which is right here. This is also where you use the crystals from before, where you upgrade the different buildings. As you see, right now, every 480 minutes, meaning every 8 hours, I get a challenge crystal. If I upgrade it once, it'll decrease to that would be every 7 hours and 12 minutes. So the more you upgrade it, the more crystals you get. You know this concept from other elements of the game as well, the peggacorn trial, for instance. So I won't spend too much time explaining that. The last thing I want to mention in here in the Void Fortress is the Void Shop. The Void Shop is where you spend the Void Flares. Now, as you see on the left side of the screen here, these other shops are locked, and that's because we haven't spent enough void flares, or flare meteorites they're called, sorry. So in the top of the screen you see that it says flare meteorites required to unlock current shop, 132,000. As you see in the progress bar in the top right, I've spent 0 so far. So my plan is to save up to buy this Ruin Megalith of Nature. I'll explain what that does when we get to the Divinity Source part of the video. Skip ahead if you are very eager to know this right now. Otherwise, I'll get to that in like a minute or two. So that's my plan to buy this right now, just to show you how it works. I'll buy the cheapest thing possible so you can see that it counts towards the timer. Or like you see the progress bar now, it says 750 spent out of 132,000. So once I spend a lot of these, I'll unlock the second shop, then the third, the fourth, and lastly the fifth. This last one, okay, that's even harder to unlock. Okay, so that's just when you've purchased everything, basically. Maybe you want to go get coins. I don't know. You do you. So that's how the shop works. And lastly, in the Void Fortress, there's this seasonal leaderboard thing where, as you see, my current rank is 18. Just being in the top 100 gives you the same rewards whether you're number 1 or whether you're number 100. So I don't really give a shit. I just want to be in the top 100. These 5 Mystic Ruin Megalith, I opened those to get 1 random megalith. I'll show you what these are when we get to the Divinity Source section. And the rest of the rewards are actually also connected to the Divinity Source. You see that there's 4 different types of stone, each with their separate colors. So there's the red one, Shining Universe Souls. So all of them are called Universe Soul, and then they're called something different based on their color. I'm not going to remember, so I'll call them red, green, yellow, and blue. Not very creative, but yeah, but that'll make it easier. As you saw, I was number 18. I'll just show you how the ranking system works. Right now, you see that I have 238 points. This refers back to the item that looks like a ticket, basically. Void Fortress point. You see that I have 238 of these. So you can go check your inventory, how many you have. As you saw earlier, you get them through the Void Mine. So essentially, you go into the Void Fortress, go into the Void Mine. And for instance, if you beat this wild monster, you would get 50 of those. If you just capture one of these loads. Okay, my phone is very, very slow right now. Why is this not working? Come on. Okay, perfect. So this one would give you 36 up front and then 6 every 30 minutes. So once again, if you don't think that you can keep the load for very long, go for the monsters or whatever. If you think that you can keep the load for several hours, go occupy a load, because that will give you a larger amount of points in the end. So that's how this this leaderboard system works. And of course, try to aim for whatever is realistic. So that's it for the Void Fortress. Right before we go into the Divinity Source, I will just show you the 2 resources connected to the Divinity Source. The first one is called Bud of Birth. So this is used for upgrading the Divinity Source. The other one is used for upgrading divinities. Now, this different is that, as you see, the whole area is called Divinity Source. And if you click the tree in the middle, this is the actual Divinity Source. And this is what you upgrade with the Bud of Light. Bud of Birth, sorry. So as you see, I've upgraded it once. Every time you upgrade it, the damage of your grimoire increases. Very simple. I think that's basically it. The more complicated and more important part of the Divinity Source is the divinity. So right now, if I click upgrade divinity, it says please forge divinity first. I don't have one, so that's why I can't upgrade it. The way that you get a divinity is that you go to forge divinity and you use these ruin megalith. There, as you see, there's one called nature, one called void, and one called chaos. Each of them have a chance to give you different divinities. So if we start with the nature one, they have a chance to give you a divinity connected to the different factions. So this one is the Scourge one, this one is the human one, there's the demon one, and of course there's the Dark Knight one. Now, each of them, if you see the Scourge one, for instance, it gives you a fixed attack and 30% armor break. I believe the way this is to be understood is that all of your different factions or races will get the fixed attack and the armor break, and the Scourge, your Scourge heroes will just get an extra 50% of these stats. So, for instance, they, instead of 30% armor break, they would get 45% armor break. This is how I think it works for all of these. So, for instance, humans would get 22.5% dodge. Since I don't have one, I'm not sure yet, but at least that's my best speculation so far. That's the ruin megalith of nature, as you see. If you go to the void one, they are connected to shadow, light, and hyperspace. So still, it's a matter of race. Um, the last one, the ruin megalith of chaos, is connected to class. So that would mean, for instance, warrior heroes. So there's a fixed HP amount, there's critical damage immune of 18%, which I think applies to all of your classes, but then the warriors will get an extra 50%. So, for instance, the critical damage immune would be 27% instead of 18. That's how I think this works. Of course, right now I cannot say for sure. If you want to know the chances, like every time you forge one of these, of course I don't have one, but if I had one, I would click forge, and it would take, I think it's like 24 hours to forge. It says it's 20 hours required, so I can speed it up by using crystals, but it takes 20 hours to forge. When it's forged, there's a chance to get three different things. As you see, there's an 80% chance to get the Spirit of Ruin, which is what you need to actually, what do the Spirit of Ruin, those are probably the ones used to upgrade the no, we need to go to the triangle one. That's one. So Spirit of Ruin, material for upgrading divinities, of course, yeah. So when you get a divinity, you upgrade it, and that's where you use the Spirit of Ruin. And there's an 80% chance to get those. So I'm hoping that you get a lot of these. Otherwise, it's going to be annoying to get them 4 out of 5 times. Then, as you see, there's a 14% chance to get the material for evolving divinities. These materials are the stones of different colors that I talked about earlier, the red, yellow, green, and blue ones, I think. Let's just go have a look. Yeah. So these universe souls, these are the materials for evolving divinities, as you see. So right now, I can only speculate as to how many of these you're going to need. But chances are that in the beginning you won't need very many, and then it's going to take you a while to evolve it any further. The divinity is functioning quite a bit like heroes. So, for instance, with a hero, you level it from 1 to 30, and then you need to evolve it or promote it in order to enable it to level from 30 to 40. Then you do the same thing from 40 to 50, and so on. And the divinity is going to function in the same way. So you have the Spirit of Ruin that you need to level it up, and then you have the other materials to promote them or evolve them. Lastly, there's the 6% chance that you get a divinity. The divinity, I think, for instance, if we take the Ruin Megalith of Nature, if you remember, that is the one that will give you either Scourge Human, Demon, or Dark Knight. So there's a 6% chance to get one of those, and I think it's going to be random whether it's going to be Scourge or whether it's going to be Dark Knight. However, in the beginning, it says when there is no divinity in Divinity Source, the first Ruin Megalith you forge guarantees a divinity. So the first time you forge it, congrats, you will get a divinity. Um, Also, if you read point 6, if you fail to obtain divinity for 14 continuous forges, you're guaranteed to obtain one in the 15th forging. This works kind of the same way as with the Galactic Compass, that every 15 summons guarantees a starlight. Of course, you can change that so it's a 6.67 chance, but 1 in 15, basically. That's the same way this works. As far as I have read, the divinities are going to work in every aspect of the game, so not just in the Galactic Gate, but pretty much everywhere. So this is definitely something to pursue very hard because that's going to help your team get very, very far in pretty much every aspect of the game. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm pretty sure that I covered everything in this. I hope it made it more clear what and how what this is and how it functions. But stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.